It was Thursday night, and I was sitting at the kitchen table, trying to make sense of the mess of bills that had piled up in the past few months. The faint hum of the refrigerator was the only sound, and the kitchen light flickered just enough to be annoying, but I didn't care. I was deep in the numbers. Credit card balances, loan interest, overdue utilities, everything that felt like a weight I couldn't shake off. I had my laptop open in front of me, the screen glowing white against the dim room. It was a lot, but we were getting by. Then, the front door creaked open, and I heard her heels click across the floor. My wife, Sarah, walked in holding 2 large takeout bags from that Chinese fusion place we always liked but could barely afford these days. My stomach churned a little. "Dinner's here," she said with a smile, setting the bags down. I sighed and glanced at the bags. "We need to cut expenses until we catch up," I said, trying to keep it casual, like I wasn't about to drown in bills. Her smile dropped, and she didn't even hesitate before she snapped back. "Maybe if you made more money, we wouldn't need to cut expenses," she said, tossing her jacket over the chair. "But no, you're coasting just like always. It's embarrassing." I felt the heat of frustration rising in my chest. "Coasting? Really?" I asked, keeping my voice even, but my pulse was starting to race. "I'm working my ass off every day. What more do you want?" She crossed her arms, shifting on her feet. "Maybe if you had some ambition, we wouldn't be stuck in this rut. I don't even know why I put up with it." Then, like she was digging in for the final blow, she added, "I should have married Brian. He's a lawyer now. He's got it all together." The words hit like a punch to the gut. I froze for a second, and when I finally found my voice, I could barely keep the bitterness from leaking through. "You're comparing me to your ex now?" She looked at me, eyes sharp, and just shrugged, dismissing my question like it was no big deal. "I just told you what I should have done," she said, like I wasn't even there. "Brian's got a life. I'm stuck with this." I don't know what hurt more, the comparison or the coldness in her voice, but the truth was I'd heard it before. The comparisons, the little jabs, the constant reminder that I wasn't enough. I took a breath, holding it, and calmly reached for the laptop. "All right," I said, turning the screen toward her. "We'll see how this plays out." She didn't understand at first, but I was already typing. It was too late to back down. I didn't say anything more. I just opened my laptop again, the keys clicking under my fingers like they had a rhythm of their own. I pulled up the reunion website, the one I knew she'd spent way too much time on over the years, still checking in on her ex. "Brian, the lawyer." Her voice broke through the silence. "What are you doing?" she asked, her tone a mix of panic and disbelief. I didn't answer, just clicked through the pages until I found his profile. It was the usual stuff: job, some photos, updates on his life. I didn't need to read much. My mind was already made up. This was her game, and now I was playing by her rules. I started typing. "Hey Brian, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm Sarah's husband. She just told me tonight she should have married you instead. Said you've got your life together, and she's stuck with me, a guy with no ambition. So, I'm reaching out to see if you have any advice. She's clearly still thinking about you." I paused after hitting a few keys, but I didn't look at her. Her breathing was shallow, her footsteps pacing back and forth behind me. "Stop. Please stop," she begged, her voice rising with each word. "Don't do this. I didn't mean it, okay? I was just angry. You know how I get." I didn't respond. I just kept typing, my fingers moving faster now, like I was shaking something loose that had been building up for years. "I know you probably don't care, but I just want to know why she always does this. The comparing, the making me feel like I'm never good enough. It's getting old, and tonight she crossed a line. Anyway, take care. Hope things are good with you." I hit send, and only then did I turn around. She was standing at the kitchen counter now, staring at the floor like it had all the answers. Her hands were trembling, and there was a wetness in her eyes that wasn't just from the tears. "Why did you do that?" Her voice was barely a whisper, cracking. "I didn't mean it, okay? I didn't mean any of it. Please, don't ruin this." I didn't say anything, just pulled the laptop closer to me again and opened up a new tab, back to the bills, back to the mess I couldn't ignore. I felt her staring at me, but I didn't look up. There was nothing else to say. About 20 minutes later, when the silence had settled into something almost unbearable, the ping of an incoming message broke through. It was from Brian. I clicked on it and read through his response. The words hit me hard, even though I knew what was coming. I remember exactly why I broke up with Sarah. She always did this. Always compared me to others, made me feel like I wasn't enough. Nothing I ever did was good enough. I thought maybe it was just me, but I realized it's just how she is. She needs someone to be perfect in her eyes. It was exhausting. You deserve better than that. I let the screen sit there for a moment. My chest felt tight, and for a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I thought about the last few years, all the little digs, the side comments, the quiet resentment she carried around like it was mine to fix. I closed the laptop, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the wall. The hum of the refrigerator was back, but it felt louder now, almost like it was mocking me. She didn't move, just stood there waiting. "Are you happy now?" she asked, a soft sob in her voice. "Is that what you wanted? To make me look bad?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The message was out there now. The truth was out there, and I couldn't take it back. I didn't say anything when she started to cry. Didn't move, didn't look at her. The air between us felt thick, like it had turned to concrete. She wasn't getting it, and I couldn't keep explaining it. I opened her Facebook page instead. Scrolling through her posts was like reading the same passive-aggressive script over and over again. She'd always been the queen of indirectness, the kind of person who left a trail of barely veiled complaints that no one ever took seriously. But now, as I read them all back to back, it was like they were glaring at me. "Must be nice." She'd commented on a friend's post about their new house. No congrats or anything, just that. On someone else's vacation photos, "Some of us budget every penny." I'd seen that one before. She was always like this, trying to make other people's happiness feel like a slap in the face. I screenshot them all, one after the other, collecting proof. Her laptop sat open on the table, her messages app on the screen, as if it had been waiting for me to find it. I didn't hesitate. I clicked through her chats with her cousin. The latest one stood out. "He's a good guy, but he lacks drive," it read. It was from a few days ago. My throat tightened as I read it, then reread it. She had been talking about me, again. She'd always been good at twisting everything into something I was lacking. She had to make sure people saw me as the problem, the one who wasn't enough. I leaned back in the chair, my fingers gripping the sides, fighting the urge to throw it all across the room. I just let it sit there for a moment. All these little bits of evidence, of patterns I'd been ignoring, building up like bricks in a wall I could never scale. I heard her footsteps again, slower this time, dragging from the bedroom. She came into the living room, her face a mess of tears and mascara. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice shaky but still holding that edge of frustration, like I was the one who needed convincing. I didn't move from the chair. I just slid my phone toward her, showing her the conversation with Brian. Her eyes skimmed it, then went wide, and I saw her lip tremble before she turned away. "That's not what I meant," she said, her words fast and high-pitched. "I didn't mean it like that. You're twisting it." It was a stupid, angry thing to say. She wiped her face with her sleeve, but the tears kept coming. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. I pulled up the screenshots I'd taken from her Facebook. "What about this? Must be nice. And some of us budget every penny? That how you really feel?" Her face paled. She was quiet for a beat, maybe trying to process what I'd just shown her. But it didn't take long for her to snap back into her usual defensive mode. "That's just me venting. You know how I get," she muttered, like it was nothing. "It's not a big deal. I didn't mean to hurt you." I shook my head, but I didn't argue. There was no point. She wasn't listening. She never had. "I'm done talking," I said. "I'm going to sleep on the couch tonight." Her eyes widened, and she took a step toward me, reaching for my arm. "Please don't do this. Please, I'm sorry. Just don't go." She was still crying, but I didn't care anymore. The apology didn't feel real. It was just another way for her to shift the blame back onto me. I stood up, moved past her, and headed toward the couch without saying another word. I didn't need to explain anything more. She knew what I was thinking. She just didn't want to face it. I grabbed the blanket off the couch and tossed it on, then settled in. The house was still too quiet, but somehow it felt like a relief. Not talking, not fighting, just separating myself from the mess she had created. Her footsteps lingered outside the living room for a few minutes, but eventually, I heard the soft click of her bedroom door. She wasn't coming out anymore, and neither was I. We were both trapped in our own silence now. The smell of bacon woke me up early the next morning. I didn't want to get up, didn't want to face her. But the smell was like a magnet, and against my better judgment, I dragged myself out of bed. The kitchen light was on, and there she was, standing over the stove like everything was fine, flipping pancakes with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Felt wrong, like a movie scene where you know the happy ending's a lie. She looked over when she heard me, her voice too sweet. "I made your favorite," she said, as if that was all it would take to undo the mess we were in. "I want to fix this, really. I think we need to talk about counseling. We can work through this, I know we can." I stood in the doorway for a moment, my hands shoved in my hoodie pockets, still half-dazed from the night on the couch. I didn't feel hungry, didn't feel like pretending. "I don't want counseling," I said flatly, and she froze, the spatula hovering above the pan. She looked at me like she hadn't expected that, even though I'd made myself clear 100 times. She turned the heat down on the stove and sighed, her shoulders dropping a little. "But we can work through this, right? I know I said things last night, but it wasn't really how I feel. I don't want to lose you. I love you." I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I walked over to the counter, sat down with a mug of coffee she'd already poured for me. Her eyes followed me, like she was waiting for me to soften, to break. But I didn't. Every day, I get up early, go to work, come home, help out around here, try to make ends meet. I do all that, and you act like I'm coasting. Like none of it's good enough, I said, my voice calm but tight, like a wire about to snap. "But it's never enough for you, is it? I can't catch a break with you. And last night, that was the last straw." Her hands trembled, her face flushed. "Please don't say that. I didn't mean it like that." I shook my head, leaning back in the chair. "No, you've been saying it for years, just in different ways. The comparisons, the digs. It's always me falling short. And it doesn't matter what I do, because it's never what you want." She reached for me then, like she was trying to bridge the gap between us with one simple gesture. Her hand hovered near mine, her fingers brushing lightly against my palm. I pulled back. "No, don't," I said, my voice sharp now. "I'm sleeping on the couch, and I'm going to keep doing it until things change." She looked like she was about to say something, her mouth opening and closing like she couldn't find the words. But before she could speak, I leaned forward, keeping my eyes steady on hers. "You know what Brian said to me last night? He remembers exactly why he left you. Because of all this. The comparisons. The constant feeling of not being good enough. You'll never find what you want, Sarah. Not until you look at what's in front of you." The words hung in the air, and I could see her processing them, her eyes narrowing like she didn't want to believe it, but couldn't ignore it either. The silence was thick between us now, the weight of everything that had been said pushing down on both of us. She opened her mouth to speak again, but I stood up before she could. I grabbed my mug and turned to walk out, my back to her. "I'll be on the couch," I said over my shoulder, the finality in my tone making it clear I wasn't changing my mind. I didn't hear her reply. I didn't need to. The choice was made. I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was off as I drove to work that morning. The silence at home, her empty apologies echoing in my head. I couldn't even tell if I was angry anymore or just exhausted. Either way, the drive was long, the road stretching out in front of me like it was never going to end. At work, I tried to focus, but I couldn't. The numbers on my screen blurred together, and the hum of the office felt muffled, like I was underwater. My boss, Mike, noticed the shift before I even realized I wasn't hiding it well. "You okay?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe of my cubicle. "You seem off today." I didn't have the energy to lie. "Yeah, just personal stuff," I said, forcing a smile I didn't believe in, not really in the mood to talk about it. He raised an eyebrow, then pulled up a chair next to me without asking. Mike wasn't the type to push, but he could read me like an open book. "Look, I get it. I went through my own crap with my ex a while back. Still dealing with some of it, honestly." I glanced at him, surprised. "Really?" He nodded, a small sigh escaping him. "Yeah, she used to do the same thing, always comparing me to other people. Like I wasn't good enough, you know? Always asking why I wasn't more like this guy or that guy. After a while, I just couldn't take it anymore. So I left." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. It's like that. I feel like nothing I do is ever enough. Like I'm just not the person she wants me to be. Mike's eyes were sharp, but there was a quiet sympathy there. "Some people aren't ever satisfied," he said flatly. "That's on them, not you. You can't keep trying to be everything for someone who doesn't know what they want." His words hit home in a way I wasn't ready for, but I couldn't ignore them. Maybe that was the truth I didn't want to face, that it wasn't just about a bad night or a few hurtful words. It was something deeper, something that had been there all along, even before last night. I nodded but didn't say anything more. The rest of the day dragged on, the hours stretching out as I ran through everything in my mind. Her comments, the fights, the countless ways she made me feel small. When I got home later that evening, the place was quiet, too quiet. I stepped inside to find her still in her pajamas, sitting on the couch. The apartment was a mess, clothes scattered around, the kitchen counter piled with dishes that hadn't been touched all day. She looked up when she heard me, and her face twisted with guilt and something else. Fear, maybe. "We need to talk," she said, her voice tight, like she was trying to hold it together. I set my bag down and crossed my arms. "About what?" She looked down, her fingers twisting in her lap. "I messaged Brian years ago, just to see what he was up to. It wasn't anything. I swear. I didn't mean for it to go this far." I stood there for a moment, the words sinking in. She'd messaged him, for no reason other than curiosity. The ex-boyfriend, the lawyer. And that was when it hit me. This wasn't about one fight or one careless comment. This was about a pattern. The constant comparisons. The insecurity she tried to bury by making me feel like I was the problem. It was never about me not being enough. It was about her not being happy with anything, least of all herself. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "So all this, the digs, the comparisons, the stuff with Brian, it's been building up for years, hasn't it? You never really chose me, did you?" Her eyes welled up, and she tried to look away, but I saw the truth in them. She didn't even try to deny it. "I didn't mean it like that," she whispered, voice breaking. "I didn't know what I was doing." I shook my head, feeling that familiar frustration bubble up again. "No, you knew. You always knew." I didn't wait for her to respond. I just turned and walked into the bedroom, grabbing my bag. Without looking back, I grabbed my jacket and walked out to the car. I needed space, needed to be anywhere but here. I didn't wait for her to say anything else. I just grabbed my keys and headed for the door. But as my hand touched the doorknob, I stopped, the weight of everything crashing down on me all at once. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I turned back around, my voice coming out low and tight, but sharp. "You never really chose me." Her face froze, like she didn't know how to respond. But then her eyes filled up with tears, and she started shaking her head, taking a step forward. "What? No, don't say that. I love you. I do. I don't know what happened. I messed up. I want to fix it. I swear." I crossed my arms, staring at her. "If you loved me, none of this would have happened. You've been comparing me to everyone else since day one. Brian, your friends. I'm not him, and I'm not going to keep being this guy who's always second best." Her mouth opened like she was going to say something, but I didn't want to hear it anymore. I'm done, Sarah. I can't do this anymore. Not like this. She staggered back like I'd slapped her, her breath coming out in gasps. Please don't leave. Please just don't go. I can change. I'll do whatever it takes, I swear. I walked toward the hallway, grabbed my bag from the corner. I need space. Time away from you. From all of this. You've shown me who you really are. She was standing there, watching me, her hands shaking, and for the first time, I saw something in her eyes I couldn't ignore. It wasn't just guilt. It was panic. No, please don't do this. Don't leave me. I need you. But I was already done listening. I zipped up the bag, feeling like a weight had been lifted off my chest. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. I stepped toward the door, and she reached for me, her fingers grazing my arm. Please. I love you. I don't want to lose you. We can fix this. I'll fix it. Just don't go. I didn't look back. I walked out without answering, her voice trailing after me, breaking and begging for something I wasn't sure she even understood. I drove to Cole's place, the car moving faster than I wanted. But I didn't care. When I pulled up, I didn't even wait for him to answer the door. I walked in, tossed my bag on the couch, and plopped down, taking a deep breath. Cole glanced up from the poker table, his grin wide. Damn, man, what's going on? You look like you just survived a tornado. Feels like it? I muttered, pulling up a chair and grabbing a beer from the fridge. It's a mess, but I need this. I need something normal right now. He nodded without asking more questions. He could always tell when I was in a bad place. Poker's the best therapy I know. Grab a seat, man. You'll feel better. And for the first time in weeks, I did. I played hand after hand, not thinking about anything else. No guilt, no phone calls, no Sarah. Just the cards, the chips, and the familiar, comforting rhythm of the game. I won a few hands, but more importantly, I felt like myself again. Like the weight on my chest had finally lifted, even if just for a little while. It was the first time I hadn't felt like I was drowning in someone else's expectations. When I won a big hand, Cole raised his glass. There he is. Welcome back. I smiled, but it was more than just about the poker. It was about me taking control of my life again. The whole situation with Sarah, everything, felt like a different lifetime now. I wasn't that guy anymore. I wasn't the one who always put himself last. For the first time in a long time, I actually felt free. After the others left, it was just me and Cole sitting in the quiet of his living room. The remnants of the poker night scattered around us. Empty bottles, discarded cards, and a half-eaten pizza. I felt lighter, but the silence was different now, heavy in a way that made me want to say something, but I wasn't sure what. Cole leaned back in his chair, pushing his empty plate aside. He was quiet for a moment, then looked at me with a level of seriousness I wasn't used to from him. You've been different for a while, man, he said, his voice low. Not just tonight. Quieter. Smaller. I shifted in my seat, feeling like he could see right through me. I don't know what you mean, I said, but it sounded weak, even to me. Cole gave a small shake of his head, his gaze steady. You've been apologizing for everything, even when you shouldn't. Like you're waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to just be yourself. I saw it tonight, man. You kept apologizing for winning at poker. I ran a hand through my hair, the guilt already creeping in at the reminder. Yeah, I don't know. I've been walking on eggshells for so long. I guess I just got used to it. He looked at me, his expression hardening a little. That's what happens when you're in a relationship where you're not really seen. You forget what it feels like to just be you, to have space to breathe without constantly trying to measure up. I stayed in a relationship like that too long, man. I get it. But if someone makes you feel small every day, that's not love. It's not. And you need to get the hell out before it eats you alive. His words hit harder than I expected. I knew what he meant. I'd felt it for years. But hearing someone else say it out loud was like hearing the truth for the first time. It was like the weight I'd been carrying on my shoulders for so long just shifted a little. I could breathe again. I know, I said quietly, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. I know it's not love. I just didn't know how to get out of it. Cole leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, eyes sharp. "You're out now, man. And that's the hardest part. The rest is just figuring out how to stop letting it affect you." I nodded, but my chest felt tight again. I didn't want to think about going home tomorrow, facing Sarah's tears, her apologies, her promises. I didn't want to be the guy who fell for it again. We didn't say much after that. The conversation died down as we both sat in silence, just drinking beer and watching the last of the poker chips scattered across the table. But for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was starting to get my bearings. Maybe I wasn't entirely lost after all. The next day, I was still trying to process everything when my phone buzzed. I didn't recognize the number, but when I answered, it was her cousin, Casey. "Hey," she said, her voice cautious. "It's Casey. I just wanted to check in. Sarah's been crying nonstop. She's really sorry about everything. She's asking me not to let you give up on her. Please, she wants you to talk to her. She doesn't know what she's doing. I think she's really scared." I sat there in silence, the words hanging in the air, suffocating me. I could feel the pull of guilt starting to twist in my stomach. But I didn't know what to say to her cousin. I wasn't ready to hear another tearful apology, another promise to change. I had heard it all before. "I'm not going back," I said, my voice steady but cold. It was the first time I had said it out loud, and it felt final. "I need space. From all of it." There was a pause on the other end of the line, like Casey was trying to find the right words. But when she spoke, her voice was soft, almost pleading. "I get it, but just don't give up on her. She really loves you, you know?" I didn't respond right away. I thought about Sarah, her eyes pleading with me the night before, her desperation. But I also thought about the years of comparison, the constant feeling of never being enough. I couldn't do it anymore. "I'll talk to her when I'm ready," I finally said, and ended the call without another word. I sat there for a moment, the phone still pressed to my ear, and then I put it down on the table. I didn't need to say anything more. It wasn't about love anymore. It was about surviving the mess I'd been dragged into and finally choosing myself. And that was something I wasn't willing to give up. For the first time in a long time, I felt a strange sense of peace settling in my chest. It wasn't easy, but it was a start. The next morning, I was sitting at my kitchen table, sipping coffee, trying to push all the thoughts of Sarah out of my head when my phone buzzed. It was a message from one of her friends, someone I barely knew, but I could tell something was off by the tone. "Hey, I saw Sarah's Facebook post. Are you seriously just leaving her like that? After everything?" I frowned, scrolling to find what they were talking about. When I clicked on Sarah's profile, it hit me right away. She'd posted a picture of us from a few months ago, the one where we were smiling, arms around each other, looking like everything was fine. The caption, though, was all passive-aggressive venom. "Some people don't appreciate what they have until it's gone." I didn't say anything. I just sat there for a moment, staring at the screen, my jaw tight. I didn't need to scroll far to see that she had already started her public campaign, painting herself as the victim. The comments were piling up, some from people I didn't recognize, but some from mutual friends. They weren't buying it. One read, "Didn't you say he had no ambition?" Another, "Wasn't he always being compared to Brian?" I felt a strange, cold sense of satisfaction as the comments rolled in. People weren't forgetting the little jabs she'd thrown over the years. They were remembering her posts, the passive-aggressive digs she'd made at me, the things she'd said about me in front of others. She was trying to rewrite the narrative, trying to make it look like I was the one who just walked away, the one who never appreciated her. But the truth was out there, even if she didn't want to see it. As I watched her delete some of the comments, I couldn't help but feel like I was watching her sink deeper into the hole she'd dug. The more she deleted, the more people screenshot what was left behind. It was like watching a house of cards fall apart, slow and inevitable. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Sarah's post and her frantic attempts to erase the evidence only made it clearer. She was forced to face the story she'd been telling for so long. The one where I was the problem, the one where I wasn't enough. She could delete the comments, block people, but she couldn't erase the truth. People had seen through her facade. I sat there, phone in hand, and just watched it unfold. It was like I was watching a show, but this time I wasn't playing the lead role anymore. I wasn't the guy trying to fix everything or apologize for things I didn't do. When I felt the urge to comment, to jump in and clear my name, I squashed it. I didn't owe her or anyone an explanation. She was telling her side, I was telling mine, but I didn't need to be the one to defend myself. The truth was out there. I set my phone down and leaned back in the chair, a strange calm settling over me. I wasn't going to get dragged back into her drama. Whatever was happening on her Facebook page didn't matter. It was just noise. I was done with that chapter, and there was nothing she could do to rewrite it. We met at the cafe. I wasn't sure if it was her idea or mine, but it didn't matter. It was neutral ground, a place where neither of us had any ownership, and I liked it that way. The buzz of quiet conversations and clinking coffee cups filled the air, but the space between us felt empty. Too empty. She was already sitting at a corner table when I walked in. I didn't look at her right away, just walked past the rows of tables and sat down across from her. She looked smaller, but the quiet desperation in her eyes hadn't changed. She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'm glad you agreed to meet," she said, her voice shaky. "I think we can still fix this, you know? I've started therapy. I've been working on myself. I know I have issues. I know I hurt you." I looked at her for a moment. I wanted to believe that she was sincere, but I'd heard this story too many times. "I'm glad you're working on yourself. That's a good step. But it's too late for us, Sarah. I'm not coming back." Her eyes flickered with something close to panic. "Please don't say that. Please." She leaned forward, almost pleading. "I love you. I'm trying. I really am. I can't lose you." I leaned back in my chair, folding my arms across my chest, feeling a coldness I hadn't allowed myself to feel before. "You've said it 100 times. I love you. But then you keep comparing me to other people, other versions of me you think I should be. You've been doing it for years, Sarah." Her eyes flashed briefly, but I wasn't done. "Your cousin, Casey, said it herself. She told me not to give up on you, but she also said you make people feel small. And Brian, he remembers exactly why he left you. You always need someone to measure up to, but no one can do it. Not me, not him, and not the next guy either." I watched her face crumble, but I couldn't care. It was all coming out now, all the things I'd kept inside, and I wasn't going to hold back. I picked up my phone, scrolling through her Facebook comments that had piled up over the past few days. The screenshots I'd saved, the ones where she'd made all those passive-aggressive comments about me, comparing me to Brian, talking about my lack of ambition, sat there in front of me. I didn't need to say it out loud. The proof was already there. "I'm not gaslighting myself, and I'm not letting you do it either," I said. "You've been telling yourself a story, and now you want me to play along. But I can't. Not anymore." She was shaking now, her face a mess of guilt and tears, but I didn't move, didn't try to comfort her. I used to, but I wasn't that guy anymore. She buried her face in her hands, sobbing hard, and I felt that familiar tug in my chest. It wasn't that I didn't care. I did, in a way. But this wasn't about fixing her or fixing us. It was about me standing up for myself for the first time in years. Finally, when she calmed down enough to speak, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I know I messed up. I've always messed up. But I can change. I swear I can." I shook my head slowly. "I don't believe you anymore, Sarah. You've had years to appreciate me, to choose me. You didn't. And now you have a lifetime to regret it." I pushed back my chair and stood up, the scrape of it against the floor feeling loud in the quiet cafe. She didn't say anything else, just stared at me with those tear-filled eyes, like she was hoping I'd change my mind. But I didn't, couldn't. I walked out without another word, the door shutting behind me with a soft click, and for the first time, I felt lighter, like a weight I hadn't even realized was there had finally been lifted. I had made the right choice. And as much as it hurt to admit it, I knew it was the only choice I could have made. A few months had passed, and I was sitting at the bar with a group of coworkers, enjoying a drink and some casual conversation. It felt good to just be in the moment without overthinking, without anyone trying to box me in or tell me I wasn't enough. That's when I met Riley. She was sitting at the end of the bar, laughing at something one of the guys had said, and there was something about her smile that made it impossible not to notice. I didn't approach her right away, but she caught my eye a few minutes later and offered me a smile of her own. A simple, genuine smile. We started talking. Nothing heavy, nothing forced, just talking about the night, the usual stuff. But something felt different. There was no tension, no feeling like I had to prove myself. She didn't ask about my past or try to figure me out with all the wrong questions. We just connected. We exchanged numbers and started seeing each other casually over the next few weeks. And for the first time in a long time, it felt easy. There were no comparisons. No, I wish you were more like this person moments. It was just me, and she appreciated who I was, not who I could be or who I should be for someone else. I found out through her that Sarah had moved back in with her parents after losing her job. The news didn't hit me like I thought it would. There was no sense of vindication, no sense of "I told you so." I didn't feel relief or gloating. If anything, I just felt sad. Sad that things had gone so wrong. But also grateful that I had walked away when I did. Her cousin, Casey, told me that Sarah had become the cautionary tale in the family, the one people whispered about. She wasn't the strong, independent person everyone thought she was. She was the one everyone worried about now. I could hear the judgment in Casey's voice when she mentioned it, but I didn't feel anything. Not anger, not bitterness, just peace. When I saw Riley again a week later, she told me something that stuck with me. "Dating you feels like fresh air," she said, her voice soft but sure. "I don't feel like I have to walk on eggshells. It's just easy. You're just you." I smiled, feeling a weight I didn't know I was carrying lift off my chest. I hadn't realized how much I'd been holding in until someone finally made me feel like it was okay to just be myself. That was the difference. No more walking on eggshells. No more trying to prove that I was enough. No more feeling like I had to change for someone else. It was just peace. And for the first time in a long time, I was finally starting to feel like I could breathe again.